Oh, good afternoon, everyone. It's Jo here, co-founder and festival director of Celebrating Sexuality. And I'm here today with this Facebook Live. So welcome today to those of you who are watching right now, and welcome to those of you who are watching this on the replay. So if you can hear us okay, give us a thumbs up. Let us know where you're watching from. That'd be really good to hear and read and see where people are. What we've got on today is we're lucky enough to have join us is one of our 2018 presenters, workshop presenters, Helen Zee, who will be presenting 3 workshops this year, and I'll introduce her properly in a moment. Before I do, I'd just like to mention that the general tickets are on sale, and how amazing, over half have sold already. So we're now 13 weeks to go. So it's not far. And as I said, over half have sold. So I'm very pleased and excited about that. So we've got quite a lot of people coming back again, which is good. And also quite a lot of new people who have heard about us through a Google search, or they've heard about us through a friend or through Facebook. So it's it's really exciting to just to have a look too where people are coming from. People are coming from as far as northern Queensland, Western Australia, New Zealand, and then of course all around Victoria, New South Wales and Adelaide, or South Australia. And so people are traveling quite big distances. And while I'm on that, so if you're coming in via a plane, for example, into Melbourne Airport, there's actually, I've organised a coach that will meet people, and the times for that is on the website. So that coach will be there, dedicated to bringing people to the site. It will stop at Southern Cross Station, so that's another point where you can join it. So that takes you directly to the site, and it gets you there for about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then going back to the airport or via Southern Cross train station, leaving on Monday at 9 a.m. So that is helpful for those people who are coming from interstate. We've had a lot of good feedback since I introduced that, and that's just been helpful. People haven't had to think about how to get there, so it brings you directly in. So whether you're in Melbourne, whether you're traveling interstate, then that's the option is there. We also have a ride share group as well. So there's another way to organise a lift with somebody. So what we'll do is now, so it brings us to why we're here today. And the purpose of the Facebook Lives is really to help people with probably my number one question that I receive, which is what happens at the festival. And, so we do have, as I was talking about last time, it's a retreat with a festival atmosphere. And so where you experience, majority of the time is about experiencing workshops. And so, and with the workshops, what that, so what that is that you have sort of like about 30 to 40 people maximum in a workshop. And so it gives you an opportunity to actually really learn and dive in deeply into the workshop, and for the presenter to actually be able to transmit some really good information to you and help you to learn about whatever it is that you're wanting to learn about that in that workshop. And so that then, but the festival atmosphere is then that we have sort of the entertainment, some music, like dancing and so on, as well as some comedy performance. So and some spaces there to hang out. I'm very excited. We're going to have some market stalls this year, but I'll talk some more about that. We haven't had that in the past, and I've been talking with some really interesting people who have different different items to sell, which will be of interest to the community. But I'll come back to that at another time, because I want to get on with introducing to Helen. So we'll just say hello first of all. Helen, hi.
Hey.
Joe. How are you?
I'm really good.
Awesome. The sound's going a little bit there. So yeah. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you clearly, and okay. There's no longer an echo, so that's good.
Okay, great. Yeah. So it's so what I'll do is I'm just going to read your bio. As I said to Myola, I'd love to memorize everyone's, but I'd rather do it justice by reading it. So I'll just introduce you properly. So as an intimacy coach, Helen Zee has helped couples and singles release limitations of sexual expression and disempowered communication into more supportive, connected, and confident relationships. Her intuition and knowledge is remarkable for empowering people to create the life they desire by exploring themselves deeply. Let's create the quality of relationships that will shape a future based on authenticity, in harmony with nature, and evolving our highest expression as creators. Let's empower our human capacity and respect each other through the growth phases of life, and open to the sacred and cherished gift of life, sensuality, and procreation. So Helen is presenting 3 workshops, as I said. They are the art of hugging, sensual play, and also a discussion group. So what we do have as well at the festival, there's a few discussion groups. This one's healing after pregnancy loss, and so the discussion groups are as it is a discussion group. So there's not a interacting with other people so much. It's more so there's a few of those. A few of the presenters are bringing discussion groups where there'll be a topic and a little bit of an introduction, but then they allow people to actually have more of a sharing opportunity and also to get some information. So So Helen, please tell us first a bit about your about your workshops for the weekend. So let's start with the art of hugging.
Yeah, great. Art of Hugging, I have run this for a few years, and I've run it a couple of times at the festival. And what I love about it is it's an opportunity to start to build and create the culture of the people that are part of creating the festival. So there's many of us that we walk around life doing the duck bum hug, and that's kind of like hugging someone through here and just yep, for a couple of seconds, all the way through to hugging and you're bare hugging someone and not giving them a chance to breathe. So the art of hugging allows us to have short hugs all the way through to prolonged hugs. We get to register how we're feeling in the hug, but also how our partner is feeling in the hug. And so when we're able to register each other, we become more nourished. And then when we move into the prolonged hugging, it turns into a meditation. And it's just amazing that you can actually hold a hug in a group space for about 10 minutes and not walk away feeling tired, but walk away feeling quite rejuvenated and elated.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I know it was very popular as well last year. Yeah, for people to, because I mean, it is one of those things that we often have that do we hug or not hug, and it's really interesting when you work with people or they're your friends, like the different kind of relationships that you have around hugging. And some people may not have been hugged much growing up, and is it something that people would need to come with a partner?
No, not at all. It's freestyle. So there'll be group hugs, there'll be partner hugs. Sometimes when we get to even miss out, if there's an odd number, it's beautiful to observe and feel like you are also hugging yourself. So there's some of the beautiful ways in that workshop that we get to relate for our own intimate self. And I remember last year we did Art of Hugging on opening night, and it was, we started learning and the culture started being around the art of hugging hugs. So other people that weren't at that workshop were being coached and encouraged through other participants to hug in that way. So it was a beautiful way of just blossoming into the festival, and I'm glad to be running it again.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it is one of those things too that learning in a group environment, I mean, there are people who have been before and there's a certain level of comfortability they have, but that, and some people who've never been before, and maybe, what we noticed in the last couple of years especially were people coming who'd never done anything like this kind of work before. Like they just hadn't been to a workshop even. But what the feedback was that I got from people was very much as you described, where people are encouraging and gently, inviting people to come and try something that they haven't tried before. And so it's actually quite a nice thing that you see happening at the festival.
Spot on, Jo. What I find quite remarkable is as the day and the days go on, we see the change in people that we first meet. And they'll walk out and there's a sparkle in their eye, or they just feel lighter. So when you go and interact and go, hey, where have you just been? And they start to share with you, you celebrate in them. You celebrate in their difference. And also it's like, wow, I'd love to try that. I want to feel what she's feeling or what he's feeling. And then that's the camaraderie that takes place in that space. That's why it's so magic.
Yeah, for sure. And what about healing after pregnancy loss? So that was, as I was saying, as a discussion group. What's the sort of things that people might expect that? Well, yeah, like I was saying, that there are it is an opportunity for people to bring up what's important for them. But what's the kind of a bit of background to that particular workshop and how it relates?
Yeah, well, when we were talking and when I saw the synopsis and the cultural field that we're trying to create for 2018, celebrating sexuality, and it comes through with consent, sometimes there's many of us in the community that experience pregnancy loss in the form of termination, miscarriage, stillbirth, and it actually affects men as much as it affects women. And this actually can start to shape the way that we are moving forward in our other relationships. And we don't realize the cost that it has in the way that we relate and the way that we trust our own bodies. Sometimes there's remnants of sadness and grief that get left behind. Sometimes that's built into a physical or an emotional manifestation. And for some people, they don't realize that, 10 years or 15 years have gone by. But that episode has certainly been a precipice for ways that they have or may not relate fully to themselves and with their partners. And as I said, this can affect men and women as well. So there's a great opportunity to talk about how grief affects us and how to build trust in our body so we can still explore what we want to explore for ourselves sexually and in intimacy without having the concern that it's going to end up in death or it's going to end up in a great loss. It's going to end up, having those difficult conversations with a partner or making those difficult decisions. I definitely feel that in this work and in this space of sexuality and transformational work in the sexuality realm, there isn't a lot that gets tapped into regarding pregnancy loss. And it happens in the same space. The pleasure dome can be, and an act or a night of pleasure turn out to be really, really different, and we just don't talk about it enough.
Yeah. And I think that's, that is something that we want from the festival as well, is that we give an opportunity for people to have a space to talk about what doesn't get talked about often enough. And, and that I think it's just across the board. It goes with that. But yeah, it's a very important subject. So we kind of then, we're looking at your third workshop, which is sensual play. So how did that come about for you, that kind of work?
In this work that I've been doing for a while, I've been told in workshop spaces, even when I was a student of the space, that I'm the sensuality queen. And I went,
I've heard that too.
I thought, how does that wear on for size? So quite naturally, I do have this lust for life and love exploring through the senses. And so creating sensual play means that we get to explore through and wake up the senses in a consensual, safe container. So it'll be restricting through vision and sounds and smells and tastes. And we use a beautiful process that I engage people and the audience in at the beginning of boundaries, and also knowing what feels good for you and not just throwing that to another person. So we need to be quite respectful, and tuning in to the other people that we're working with, cultivate that response we want for ourselves, and then offer from that place. That way we're not hungry. That way we're not leaking out, but it just becomes this beautiful essence and element of this co-creating dance that takes place in the room and the space. And it really does become quite sensuous because you're dancing with your own feelings. And the beauty of it as well is we're working with the energies in our body, which we relate to as being the masculine, feminine polarity within our own body, and how that sits within ourselves. And then also how we dance with that, dance with other people as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so, yeah, so how, like you mentioned a little bit, like people would describe you as the sensuality queen. So with this kind of work, like, an intimacy coach, what does that mean for people? And how does one kind of, like, what was it for you in terms of that brought you to this kind of work? Because you've got a background in science, haven't you?
Yeah. So I've kind of bridged it to say that from scientist to transformational, personal transformational and deep journeying. And I actually keep that alive. So I love bringing the science to the hormone cocktail that's in our body that makes us act the way that we act. There is a science behind it. And it's a way of actually bridging our sexuality and our spirituality. So this is the container where we're able to find ways of having our life force energy and our sexual energy be part of our spirituality, be part of our higher self, our higher intelligence. And when I transitioned over fully to being a relationship and intimacy coach, as well as a fertility coach, I went from pharmaceutical. I worked at Monash IVF, running a lifestyle program there, and yoga teaching and fitness teaching. And the one thing that was missing was relationships. I could see relationships starting to falter, and here you are trying to create new families. And I could also see in the community and people that were reaching out to me things that have happened in their family of origin, as well as their society, our society and cultural upbringing, that has underpinned the beliefs that are no longer valuable to us and how we want to create our lives moving forward. And so hence studying Tantra quite deeply and other transformational programs and using my intuition, I bring that in and I sit with a client or I sit with a couple and I get to ask the deeper questions. I get to feel what may have taken place that brings the hardship and brings the challenge to the table today. Because you will only bring up today what you're ready to unravel.
Yeah.
So today's challenge has a backstory. And so we sit there long enough and explore what that backstory would be and how that leads us to where we are today. And when you can see what has happened to shape you, the next time that comes up, you might do the same thing, but you're coming at it with greater choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And it's so, and we've already touched on the fact that, you know, you came last year and the year before as well. And is there anything that you're particularly looking forward to about this festival?
Yeah, there is something in the air about this year's festival that I quite can't pinpoint, but I'm like a little child waiting to explore.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can explain it. There is a new magic around town regarding the creation of what is already been cultivating in Celebrating Sexuality 2018. And I feel that with the presenters, and clearly I don't know the whole guest list of who's coming, but I certainly do know some past attendees that are coming, and also through my client base, there's other people that are interested, and there just feels like there's a vibe of people wanting to go deep, but there's a real sense of authenticity in that as well. Exploring from a place of innocence and respect, and taking things and pushing your own personal limits in a really, really safe, vulnerable, and a gorgeous place to do it in as well. Down in
It is a very special venue, I have to say, and it's you know, it's you know, just with the lake, and you know, there's pictures on the website that people can go and have a look at, particularly the gallery, the photo gallery. So there's a few pictures there. It's very lush. It's an interesting piece of land because it's surrounded by an area that's heavily farmed, but this, you know, it's a huge piece of land, but it's never been farmed. It's always been some kind of it's always been a venue of some sort where people have gathered and for fun, basically. So it's just, yeah, and it's with the lake there, and you know, we've always had some really nice warm weather, and so yeah, it's been very magical. And of course, all the meals that are included as well, so everybody comes together and can either sit together and have a chat and a catch up, or go and find a tree to sit under. There's really that opportunity to, you know, kind of dip in and out with the community of people there. And you know, I think that's something that that people do really appreciate, that there's an opportunity to talk through what they've been learning, or just talk through a little bit more about what's come up for them during the weekend. And like you say, there's a lot of new friends that are made, you know, a lot of people who, you know, we see that once a year, but it's kind of like that slightly different family Christmas, but it's like Christmas, you know, where we all come together each year. There's a group of us who are there every year, obviously, but yeah, so there's that, which is really beautiful. And it's like, and what would you say to somebody who was not sure and was sitting on the fence at the moment? What's the kind of thing that you might say to them or ask?
2018 Celebrating Sexuality, and you won't need to worry about if you're not sure anymore. You will know for certain. It's about it's about feeling into the sense of exploration, and there is so much space on the land that you can create your experience and it'll be just right for you, because you don't have to go to all the workshops. All your food needs and drink needs are taken care of. It is an alcohol, drug-free environment So we're all clear-headed. We're all there with a clean agenda. Okay, you're not going to have people going and splitting away. It really is a community feel. You can be as involved as you like. With the workshops, you can go to as many or as little as you like. And as Joe said, it can be it's like a retreat, but it's also a festival. So you get to pick and choose what your experience is. So it's all about pure consent. So if you're unsure, it's just a matter of giving yourself that consent, whether it's a strong yes, and if it's a strong no this time, sit with that and respect it. But if you are wavering, I will highly suggest waver towards your yes, because you can create the experience that's going to be right for you.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, because there is that opportunity to there is always an opportunity in every workshop. Like it's a very closely held value for us in terms of boundaries and consent, and that was part of what led to thinking about what would be the theme in 2018, and it's celebrating consent. And what we've found is that it's not just implied in our workshops. It's always been a requirement of all the workshops, and a requirement of covering that sort of information. So if people aren't sure about what boundaries and consent mean, maybe you've just read about it on a website or something, but it's the kind of space where you can actually learn to understand what that means and feels like in your body, because that's we need that mind and body working together in terms of what boundaries and consent mean. And so, yeah, there is that opportunity to dip in, dip out, fully dive in, and fully sit out if that's what you need to do at the time. So we have other support around, which is our counsellors and our emotional support people. And the function of the counsellors really is there to, sometimes people come out of an experience and they're not quite sure what it is to make sense of what's going on. So they're there to sit with you and to help you to figure out and make some sense of whatever stuff, let's just call it, has come up. Or, and then it's something that you can learn a little bit more about yourself, and perhaps, speak to that counsellor outside of the weekend. Or all of our workshop presenters, as you can see going across the screen, we've got Helen's website. Her, like all of the presenters at Celebrating Sexuality, they have a follow-up option. So if something in your workshop, you have questions, you're welcome to contact them. Welcome to contact them at any time outside of the festival to arrange, like I know with Helen, she runs, as she said as well, she runs sessions with single people and with couples, and so people in relationships, and workshops and so on as well. So I'd say go and check out her website too. And then, of course, the Celebrating Sexuality website, you'll find all of our 2018 presenters, all there with their bios, with their workshop descriptions as well, and all their contact details. So, yeah, I encourage you to go and check that out. And, yeah, so other than that, if there's any questions that come up for people after watching this video, please just type them in, or you can messenger me or send an email, and we'll respond to that very timely. And again, I just wanted to just to let you know too that the general tickets are now on sale and over half sold. So please, if you're thinking about it, I don't want you to miss out. So jump online and sort your tickets out. There are payment plans for people where they need that, so it can be split. It just gets automatically split. No extra charge for doing that. And so just jump on there now. So it's www.celebratingsexuality.com, and there'll be a button there for the tickets. So yeah, so Helen, I'd just like to thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate that.
Same here, Jo. Absolute pleasure to just keep sharing and collaborating and just creating a difference in our little world.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And no doubt I will speak to you soon.
Will do.
Thanks everyone for watching. Bye now.